Allton, and I'm going to today inform you on sleep. Jana Kaplan's CNN News report stated that we spend 33% of our lives sleeping. So for an easy fraction, for a male or female that is 33 years old, they spend 11 years of their lives staring at their eyelids. For somebody of our age, I'm 20 years old, and I spend 7 years sleeping with that fraction. I round it up, it's like 6.6, but I like to sleep more than not, so round it up. And then for you guys, it's the same exact thing, so I'm not going to inform you how to sleep, the best ways to sleep. I'm going to inform you on the history of sleep. I'm going to define to you the stages of sleep and how much sleep we really need for our bodies to function. So starting on the history of sleep, Harvard Medical School, from a website of healthy sleep that they created, discovered the first known documented sleep that was made by Allton in 500 BC. And he said that it was a loss of consciousness in all body drains from the vessels on the surface of the body. And this is not completely wrong, and it may sound a little weird, but back then this was the type of observations they had with like the mythical creatures and all this stuff. Those were the type of observations they confirmed. And another one was made by famous psychologist Sigmund Freud. From 1900, he published an article, The Interpretation of Dreams. And in this article, he interpreted what dreams meant. And this is kind of a little absurd, and it was kind of a little weird because he was kind of a crazy dude from what history tells us, and he really didn't understand, he didn't have the technology of this day to tell him what exactly this meant. And to this day, we still don't understand fully what dreams are. And today, which because of them is the reason why we study today. And they made all of these technological advances for us to actually study on what is going on with sleep. And I want to define the stages of sleep. They're by Diana L. Wilcott. She's PhD, and she wrote 3 articles on sleep. She defined all the stages, and there are 5 stages, and they last a total of 90 to 110 minutes. And that's the full cycle. And I also got a picture from an article of Stages of Sleep by SleepDex. And I want to show to you what the brain waves do while you're sleeping, which will kind of help picture what goes on. So when we're awake and aware of everything, our sleep waves go really quick and really sporadic. It's because we're using all 5 senses and we're using everything to distinguish what is going on. We may not think we're thinking, but we actually are. And that's when we are awake. For stage 1, they get a little bit longer and a little bit spaced out. This is because our body realizes we are trying to go to sleep. And our body realizes that we need to rest, and we aren't using our 5 senses. We are technically not seeing, we aren't really feeling or hearing. And this is our pre-introduction stage. So this is like getting ready to sleep. We are still actually consciously aware. Stage 2 is kind of like stage 1, but we don't know what's going on. So you'll have the same exact type of waves, then you'll have a really quick wave, and then you might have a really big wave and back to normal. These really quick waves is what you call a sleep spindle, and this is where our mind is kind of returning, figuring out what happened during the day, realizing what all we did, trying to refocus of what everything happened during the day. It can recall some memories that we had before. And this is what they call a K-wave, and this is what you'll see in later stages. So this is stage 2. In stage 3, you'll see the same thing, but you'll see more K-waves in order. And they call this together as delta waves. And this is when our brain is not even thinking. This is when we are just actually sleeping. So you start to see more of that in stage 3. And in stage 4 is complete delta waves. And that is when we are actually completely sleeping. But for some reason in this stage, we still experience sleepwalking, and some people experience night terrors. And this is, scientists really don't understand why, and they're still studying for that feature. And what is really interesting, what people found out when they first studied this, is the stage 5, which they call REM sleep. And REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement, excuse me. And what they experienced is when they saw people sleeping in stage 5, their eyes were moving back and forth under their eyes. And that's why they called it that. But what was really astonishing was it was the exact same thing in stage 1 and stage 5. Even maybe a little bit quicker, as if you were awake. And this is because you're experiencing dreams. And in stage 1, and when you're awake, you're actually consciously aware. So they found out that when you're sleeping, after like 80 minutes, you're still consciously, it seems like you're consciously aware, but you've been sleeping for 80 minutes. And that is when they figured out that you're actually experiencing dreams. And then what happens is you go back to your second stage, which is this one, and they'll start to see more K waves, and you'll go to delta waves, and go back to REM. And as sleeping goes, these become shorter, and this becomes longer throughout your night. And this was like a really astonishing discovery, and they're still doing more further research on this. But other than that, a lot of people have also wanted to discover how much sleep you really need. And Timothy Morgenthaler, she's also a PhD. She described that in her article from Adult Health that 7 to 8 hours of sleep is a good amount of sleep for adults. Now, as you get older into your elderly stage, that number will start to decrease. But for us students, 7 to 8 hours is a good amount of sleep. And also from Brian Palmer from Slate, he kind of described a contrary of not a lot of sleep. And they also did research of sleeping can actually kill you. And they found out that for people that didn't sleep within 11 days, it could honestly kill you and your brain could just die. And this is kind of astonishing because this is more than somebody that doesn't eat for 14 days. They say 14 days if you don't eat, you can die. And this is even quicker. So this kind of explains how much that sleep is a very important thing for our bodies. And on the contrary, WebMD oversleeping side effects describe that too much sleep can actually harm you too. And they say that too much sleep for a great amount of time can also cause heart disease and diabetes. And I don't mean to say this to freak you guys out, but this is like an over 2-period month of sleeping 11 hours or more. So it's not of an example of staying up for a test and then studying the next, and then taking the test the next day and then sleeping to catch up. It's over a period of time of great amount of sleep or too less of sleep. And this is the reason that we spend 33% of our lives sleeping. So it's kind of a good thing to know and just to be informed about what happens when you're subconsciously unaware.